Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Ruggles, and today I'm going to share with you a paper called Opportunities for Flexible Electricity Loads, such as Hydrogen Production from Curtailed Generation. This is a paper in collaboration with myself, Jackie Dowling, Nathan Lewis, and Ken Caldera. It was recently published this last summer. And energy systems are experiencing some emerging and some new challenges as they move to having greater shares of wind and solar power on their systems. And this is bringing some new potential opportunities for flexible electricity loads. And we wanted to better understand how flexible electricity loads, how systems respond as more and more flexible electricity loads are added. So loads such as space heating and cooling, where you can preheat or pre-cool zones, electric vehicle charging, or specifically in the context of this paper, producing hydrogen via water electrolysis. And we ask a few specific questions. How does unused available generation capacity scale based on the fraction of flexible load on the system? Additionally, how could the levelized cost of electricity and the cost to different consumer groups change? To explore these questions, we incrementally add flexible load to least cost electricity systems and see how the system responds. So in all these figures, you're going to see on the x-axis, you're going to see the fraction of flexible load to total load. So if you go to the zero side in all of these cases, this is a low flexible load fraction or low load flexibility. This is akin to our the systems that we are all very familiar with in general. Most of our power systems have very little load flexibility. And you see on the left-hand side here, one of the three main scenarios we studied. This is a dispatchable generation only system. Think of this as a natural gas-based system. We also studied a wind, solar, and battery energy storage-based system. And we also studied a system that mixed all four of those technologies together. And here in these slides, I want to focus in on the amount of unused generation capacity that's available, or when it's wind and solar, we're calling this curtailed generation capacity. And in all these cases, there is generation assets are overbuilt to supply electricity demand when flexible load is minimal. So you see that in the case with wind and solar-based power, that overbuild is greater. Now, as we increase the load flexibility, so progressing to the right in all of these cases, you can see that the relative fraction of unused generation decreases, or the relative fraction of curtailed generation decreases in these cases. This is showing you that the systems, if you're adding flexible load to them, the systems are better utilizing their generation assets with minimally expanding or not even expanding generation capacity at all. They're able to provide more and more kilowatt hours of useful generation. Now, how is that excess generation capacity spread throughout the year? Well, to answer that, we look at our operational capacity factor for our electrolysis facility. And in all of these cases, when the flexible load is minimal, so at zero on all of these x-axes, you see that the electrolysis facility is operating near 100% capacity factor. In the wind and solar one, this is more like 98% capacity factor. But in all these cases, as you add more and more flexible load from that very, very beginning point, the operational capacity factor declines. And this is because without adding any generation capacity at all, you're able to provide more power. But as you do that, you scrape away the excess that's there, and there's less left for the next incremental addition of flexible load. However, at some point, it does become economical to increase your generation capacity, and that's what you're seeing in this inflection point, which is very visible in the dispatch only scenario. There are less clear inflection points in this, but you do see, for example, that the operational capacity factor increases here and increases here. Now, what does this mean for the costs experienced in this system? Now, we consider a marginal cost-based cost allocation, where the internally used shadow price, or the dual value for the electricity at every single hour, is distributed to the loads which use the electricity at that hour. So in all of these cases, the flexible loads are able to avoid consuming electricity during the expensive, most constrained hours. And this leads to low costs. These are the blue lines. So when the load flexibility is smallest, you see very, very low, relatively low marginal costs for the flexible loads, and high marginal costs for the firm loads. The firm loads cannot shift around. When their peak electricity demand happens in the middle of the summer, when air conditioning is cranking, well, they want that air conditioning, that they don't shift this around at all. It's not built into the model that way. So those most critical hours are the ones that are driving the capacity costs in these models. So they end up having the highest costs. And in all these cases, you see that the levelized cost of energy for the entire system, so dollars per total kilowatt hour, decreases as you add more and more load flexibility. This is from a more complete utilization of your generation assets. And in all these cases, you're seeing some slight inflection points where the marginal costs are very low, then they start to go up. In this case, they're very low, and then they really start to trend up once you get to a certain point. This denotes when the capacity expansion is needed to most cost effectively supply the flexible load. So in summary, least cost electricity systems have unused generation capacity during most hours. And increasing system flexibility can lead to better asset utilization. In this paper, we're really exploring that through the addition of flexible loads. And flexible loads can initially show high capacity factor operations. This is because there really are only a few hours out of the year which really determine the capacities of these least cost electricity systems. And initially, flexible loads may operate at low marginal costs. With that, I would like to thank our lovely conveners at AGU, which this is a pre-recorded video, but soon we'll be engaging with them. And would like to say, please reach out with questions or comments. I'm excited for our session at AGU, but would be happy to chat beforehand. And thank you to our wonderful energy systems modeling team at Carnegie Science, Caltech, and UC Irvine. Thank you.